Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and you're listening to the podcast equivalent of the first pint of the weekend. And I'm here with my man Bradley, who's not feeling brilliant. Is that fair to say?
I think I've had the lurgy for over a week now. I don't know what it is. Just very, very heavy cold.
You've been kissing the girls in the playground? No, wait, that's deeply inappropriate at our age.
That sounds real wrong.
Retract that. Immediately retract that.
Yeah. I think I've been kissing my girlfriend and I've given her it as well, which makes me feel really bad.
Oh, you're the source.
I may be, yeah. I may be the alpha, what is it, the vector or whatever, the super spreader. Well, I'm not a super spreader though. Patient zero, that's the one. I've been kissing loads of people, so I've been spreading it that way. But I've just been feeling rough, man. I think you had something similar like a week or two ago, and it. I
had a cold that gave me quite a bad cough like that, and my daughter, who is 10 months, so she's not really communicating much at all, but she started coughing, and initially I was like, no, I've given it to her, but actually I think she was mocking me.
Oh, they do that. They love doing that. I've seen my little nephews do that. You go in and you cough, and they just sort of they ape you, and it's just they think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's brutal. My wife thinks it's hilarious as well, and I'm suffering away, and every member of my family is mocking my suffering. But I recovered enough that I managed to get to a beer event. So last weekend I was at Villages Brewing, just down the road from Brad. Didn't invite Brad. That was a nice awkward moment last week. Launching or helping to launch David Jessidarson, who was in our Now IPA documentary, launching his New England IPA, decolonised New England IPA, which also had jaggery, Indian spices, mango, and oh my god, something else. I've forgotten something. But it was a really interesting beer because it was still so New Englandy, like still so sort of fruit forward, juicy with like sort of orange juicy kind of vibes, but then definite turmeric, like really earthy, like turmeric kind of tastes brown. I don't know, it's hard to say, but it added a really, really interesting edge to the beer. And the event was also great. We had a long panel talk about how IPA needs to be talked about in its historical context more, just sort of ignoring it and going, well, it's an American IPA, isn't really good enough. And I was amazed to see the response, like a big crowd, everybody agreeing and asking questions. Lots of people came up to me and said, I'd never really thought about IPA that way because it's just abbreviated now. Nobody says India Pale Ale, and in a lot of countries people just say IPA, which is basically erasure. So it was a really interesting conversation. And then I met a YouTube account manager.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, this is a game changer. And I said, when we hit 100,000 subs, we were supposed to get an account manager. And he's like, yeah, I thought that is what happened. And then there was an awkward pause, and he said, well, it was nice to meet you.
Oh, you didn't exchange numbers or anything?
Yeah, no, there was no payoff to that story. Sorry, Brad.
Shit. Did you get his name?
No.
Okay. So next time I go to Village, I'll just stand up in the small tap room and go, is there a YouTube account manager in the room?
Yeah, or just talk loudly about being a YouTuber, because that's why he came up to me.
Yeah. Right. Well, I guess you had been talking for a while. up on, the panel.
Well, I mean, I was.
Sorry.
You say that like that's a bad thing. I was on a panel.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I hope you said to David about his beer. Yeah, it's just not for me.
That I hated it like he did.
Just not for me. I just don't like it. Just on camera, I don't like it, David. It's just not for me.
It was. I mean, the podcast is going out on Good Beer Hunting, so I could have stitched him up. But it was quite a tasty beer. And to be fair to David, although he has trolled me a couple of times via WhatsApp since about how bad he thinks our beer is, but everybody else has really enjoyed Now IPA. He's literally the only person I've met that didn't like it. My mum said it was not undrinkable. Was her review. Which
come on, that's a good review.
Is it?
Well, from your mum. If your mum doesn't like that sort of stuff, then that's a great review.
Well, no, she does. She does quite like beer, so I think it was a bit brutal.
Oh, okay.
It's sort of not undrinkable. I'd say she'd have given that like a 2.5 on Untapped.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, luckily it's doing quite well on Untapped, isn't it? And everyone else is loving it. And
yeah, do you know? I haven't actually checked back how it's doing. Now IPA Untapped. Let's have a quick look.
Oh god.
See what people think of it.
I shouldn't have asked.
Dude, it's doing really well.
Come on.
It's on 3.8, which for an English IPA.
Yeah.
But they've listed it as English IPA, so I might have a look. Why can't I click that? I should be able to click English IPA, and it would show whether we're like the best in the UK for English IPA.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not letting me.
Is there a way of clicking
top-rated beers, all styles? This is great podcast content.
Come on, keep going. Keep
talking,
Johnny.
English.
Oh yeah.
And then I'll change it to the location to be England. Let's see where we land. Oh, come on. It's a Cloudwater beer that's not made anymore, a Marble beer that's not made anymore, a Northern Monk beer that's not made anymore. Here we go. So the top one that's actually made is Bulletproof by Salopian.
Okay.
That has 3.86. Oh, so we're going to be... Oh, shit. No. Dude, I mean, after that, all of them are 3.8. So we're joint. We're like joint third.
Way, come on, that's pretty
English
good.
IPA in the UK.
And I'm presuming a lot of the other ones have been around for a lot longer, so they've had more time for more reviews and more.
But I think that would mean their scores would be lower.
Oh right, okay.
I think being around for longer is generally not. I mean, I think it counts. It helps you if you've been around for longer because I think that carries more weight because we've only had 100 reviews so far.
Right.
Well, 105. 85 of which are unique, so 20 people have been going back in. So yeah, I mean, I'm super pleased with that. Third best English IPA being made at the moment.
Fantastic. I'm saying the best. I'm going for it, the best.
Although the one I've just seen is not a fan of this. It's muddled.
Oh well, the people that have liked the other ones, they need to get on to our one to try it and boost up the ratings. So they do.
Yeah, everybody should install Untapped, even if you hate it. And yeah. So yeah, Now IPA's doing well despite David's view on it. But yeah, the event went really well. I had some lovely beer. Village's beer is tasting great still. They've just changed ownership, so hopefully that will last. But everything on tap was tasting really, really good. They had an Oktoberfest beer, Party Zeit, which was very good. I'm sad I didn't have it in the blind taste test video, but it probably would have come in the middle of the pack, I reckon.
They actually did an Oktoberfest, but I was away. Yeah, I was away, so I couldn't make it. And also, I totally forgot to buy a ticket. But I like it in there. The beer's good now, like you say, and they're nice guys. And I like the tap room. You didn't frequent any of the other little places along there? Like, did you go to Buster Mantis, a couple of doors down?
No, I was running an event, Bradley.
Jamaican cocktail bar, fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic place. Where Steam Down started out, they used to be there every Wednesday. Now they've gone on to be sort of internationally recognised jazz monsters. I don't know how to describe them. Just a huge.
I think Jazz
collective.
Monsters works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to go down there and see them on occasion. They're pretty fun. Deptford's great, man. I couldn't believe that I was going to miss you when you were in my neck of the woods. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah. Oh well.
Deptford is super cool. I always forget, and it seems to get cooler each time. I popped into Hot Burns and Black on the way in.
Yeah, nice.
But that was the only other part of Deptford I really saw. I congratulated Jen, who owns Hot Burns and Black. I don't know if people have, the Off Menu podcast with James Acaster and the other guy.
Yeah.
So Richard Aouadi was on there. And his dream drink was a low alcohol beer from Lervig. And he said, "Yeah, I buy it from Hot Burns and Black." So,
oh wow, nice.
Yeah. So that's been a wild time for gin and Glyn.
Peckham or Dulwich or something. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so enough about somebody else's event. Let's talk about us again. Last week we had a long, winding conversation about the podcast, where it's going, what we should be doing with it, because lots of people are asking for it to be a bit longer, which is why we went for the full hour last week. And feedback was pretty good, although we had some people sort of saying, I had to listen to it in 2 goes, which I guess ruins the point of the Friday 5 p.m. It's supposed to be the full stop on the week. And some other people saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I was thinking, Bradley, maybe I just need to stop hurrying things along and just let it be organically as long as it's going to be.
Yeah, go with the flow. But we'll still sort of try and keep it to 30. I think 30 is a good amount. I mean, it used to be 20 and you used to be quite sort of, I don't want to use the word Nazi. You were quite stringent
militant?
about...
Is that...
militant. You were quite militant about, don't go on too much. We need to keep it at 20 because it used to be it cost us money to upload longer than 20 minutes or something weird.
So when we were on our free BuzzFeed account, we had a limit to how much we could upload each month. Yeah. But now that we have a sponsor, we're paid. We can go on.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a dangerous thing to say to Brad Evans, but we can go on as long as we want.
So I saw this great film this week, Johnny.
Oh God! I mean,
called,
good.
Called The Banshees of Inisherin, which is it's great. I don't know how to describe it. It's a finely crafted feel bad treat is how it's described. But it's basically set on a small island, off the coast of Ireland, in about I think it's 1923. So the Irish Civil War is going on. Colin Farrell is in it. He plays a lovely young man called Padraig. And then you've got Brendan Gleeson in it as well. Another powerhouse of an actor who plays a guy called Colm Doherty. And basically, the Padraig is it's sort of like they imply that he's kind of like a local, not quite a local idiot, but he's just like a happy guy, maybe doesn't have too much of a sort of care in his head, too much of a thought in his head. And Podrick the other guy is deeply artistic fiddle player, and they're kind of friends, and they go drinking every day. Every day they go drinking together, Johnny, in this little pub. And then one day, the other guy just says to him, "I don't want to see you anymore. I can't talk to you anymore. And if you talk to me again, I'm going to cut my fingers off with a pinking shear and just cut my fingers off, my fiddle hand."
Wow, that escalated.
Yeah, but throughout it's beautiful. It's shot on this. I'm guessing it's the island of Inisherin, and it's very beautiful. Sort of, just like desolate, windy, lots of sheep and miniature donkey. There's a beautiful miniature donkey in it, Johnny. I didn't know anything about Well, I sort of seen them on the internet, but this little miniature donkey is an absolute heartbreaker that's in it. But they're in this beautiful little pub, the whole time, drinking nondescript bottles of something that's a stout. That's presumably it's Guinness, but there's no shout outs to Guinness.
Well, it could be Beamish or Murphy's.
Right. Yeah. But I mean,
I guess the sponsorship didn't come in from any of them, so they had to go with ambiguous stout.
Yeah. But just bottles. I was like, would it have been in 1923? Would it have just been bottles on an island, or would it have been
I bet on an island? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess it would last a lot longer, wouldn't it? They just get a sort of consignment of bottles in.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just found it. They were drinking out of a sort of straight Guinness glass, essentially. So I thought it probably is a Guinness. I don't know. But it's a fantastic movie. I don't think I've said any spoilers there, but please all go and watch it. It's a great feel-bad movie with some wonderful acting in. And
great new genre.
Like, it just made me wish that I had some stout in the cinema with me to drink along.
You didn't want to sneak some in?
I didn't even think about it, mate. I didn't even consider it.
Yeah, you didn't know they were going to be drinking ambiguous stout.
No. A great game to play, actually, with the Banshees of Inisherin would be to drink every time they drink a bottle of the stout. I think you'd probably fall off your cinema seat if you did that. But yeah, that's one for the drinking games.
There you
in
go,
the
top
future.
tip from the Craft Beer channel. Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been up to anything beery this week, Johnny, apart from the massive beery thing you just talked about?
Yeah, I mean,
Anything
just that big old event, and
Yeah.
having my first hangover for a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
Couple of days? No, sorry, one day. It wasn't one of those epic ones.
Yeah.
I have been I've been stuck at my desk doing book research for my next book.
Oh yeah.
And also filming this week's episode. So I've been in the studio all this week, which means that I have indulged my inner keyboard warrior somewhat.
Oh.
So the original blind taste test, the one with all the macro beers, has not gone viral again, but it's having a little upsurge in views again as the algorithm just picks it up again and goes, you know what, that worked for a bit. And somebody commented and got me. I don't know. I was triggered, essentially. I was triggered by a guy called Rough and Wretched Raw. Which,
I mean, his name sounds very wrong.
Yeah.
Very wrong.
He put in a long comment, which I won't read all of, but basically he said, the first line is, I always get a kick out of folks judging the commercial lagers. They always dump all over them. But let's compare sales. And then goes off on one about how sales is the best way of telling what a quality product is. Which is, okay. Yeah, we'll dig into that. So I sort of just replied and just said, just to be clear, I didn't dump on all of them. 2 of them, despite me hating those brands, I gave them good reviews. You know, if I was judging these beers in a judging competition, they'd have done extremely well. So I just sort of went back to him and said, there's this weird idea that all macro beers are born equal, and if you hate on a macro beer, it's because you're a snob. You're like, no, some of them are shit. Genuinely, actually very poorly made, which is true of all commercial products. You know, there's very good big commercial ones, and there's very bad big commercial ones. To which he responded, and this is when I got angry, Bradley. He said, there's no such thing as shit beer, simply different tastes.
What?
Which is so dismissive and almost nihilistic that I went off on one. I am ashamed to say I went off on one. So he's basically saying there's no such thing as bad beer, no such thing as bad films. There's no such thing as like a bad steak. Like, you can't ruin a steak. It's not ruined. It's not burned. It's just different tastes. It was just such logical nonsense. And I got very het up and then had to walk away. He's replied. Oh God. Okay, I shouldn't have looked because now I'm going to want to reply to him. But I am walking away. But anyway, if you want to see that exchange, it's quite good fun. Just go back to the blind expert the beer expert blind. Oh my God, Bradley. Maybe this title wasn't very good. I keep tripping over it. Beer expert blind judges bad lagers. It's worth 5 minutes of your time because you'll see me. I'm not an angry man, but it's about as angry as I get. Ooh. So that's what I've done with my week, Bradley.
Furious.
Just argued with Rough and Wretched Raw on YouTube. God, what is my
with a name
career?
like
Maybe
that?
My parents are right.
He sounds like he wants an argument with a name like that. To be fair, it's quite an aggressive sounding name, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was like a troll or like he was looking to get a rise, but he's just the worst kind of YouTube commenter. Yeah. Which is somebody who walks in to a video with absolutely no self-awareness. There could be nuance in something. It's like, this is what I think and it's correct. So I'm just going to put it there.
The fact that he just said there's no such thing as a bad beer, for me, instantly, I'm like, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
I tried to point this out to him.
Yeah. There's a bad everything in this world. Like, you know, it only takes some errors in making of the beer, and you've got a bad beer. It's pretty simple. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so this week's video is doing well, isn't it, Johnny? Let's move on from
lots of great comments, great positive, nuanced comments in this week's video. Yeah, so this week's video was a solo effort in which I gave my 10 top tips on tasting tipples.
You're loving the alliteration, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, something's happened to me this morning. I think 2 coffees. So this was something I wanted to put together because I've been having quite a few conversations in comments on the YouTube channel and occasionally on Discord and stuff from people that want to know how we, and it's very flattering that people say this, how we became good at tasting beer and how we come up with the stuff that we say about beer. Because, it is true, and when we first started, if you look back at our early videos, we're struggling for the words to describe these things that we're tasting. So I thought it'd be a really good thing to put out there so that people could learn or see sort of how our development's happened. It might be entirely different for other people, or you might think that our beer tasting notes are terrible. I nearly put in your Pete Bog Mummies soliloquy, but the audio was from back then was so terrible I couldn't bring myself to put it in. We've definitely improved our audio.
Yeah, we'll leave that as a cult classic for the OGs.
Exactly. Yeah, but so we're quite we try to be quite poetic and verbose about beer because it's kind of more fun than just going it's juicy. So yeah, we talk through that. What did you think of it as somebody who didn't see it till it was done?
Loved it. As I said to you, I thought it was a great video. Really tried hard to do a thumbnail that did it justice because I think this will help so many people enjoy beer to a greater extent than they already are. Because if you sort of literally understand what you're drinking better and can appreciate the flavors and being able to pick them out, it's a joy, isn't it? Once you sort of start doing that, a lot of comments were along the lines of people saying, "I was the first person to do that in my group, and now it's sort of like I'm watching other people do it, and it makes me happy," kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. Which I like. So it's that sort of spreading of knowledge thing. I think this video deserves to go viral, Johnny. I think this video will do more good in the world potentially than you reviewing macro lagers. There's some great stuff in there. I've got some good comments.
Hit me.
Have you read the one from Have you got the one from Andrew? I don't want to step on your feet if you're going to do that one.
I don't think I've got one from Andrew. No.
Okay, this is from Andrew. Such a great help to the craft. It's essential to cut through the categories of flavours, juicy, bready, sour, etc., in order to catch the details of how notes fall into those categories. Stories are born out of the poetry of our experiences. Very nice. Histories and the intrigue of those stories is part of what makes beer a culture multiplier. That is a very... Very good comment, Andrew.
Truly poetry.
Very poetic, right? Really, really nice. Bravo. I very well said.
I don't remember reading that. Have I given it a heart from Craft Beer Channel?
You said beautifully put.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
God,
yeah.
I've got a short memory, haven't I?
Yeah. Right, I've got another one, which is a weird one. Do you want me to go down a weird one, or should I go some more nice ones? So this is from Charles Off Denson. The most important thing about tasting anything is to have a glass with very thin walls. Yes. The thinner the glass, the better. If it can cut you, that's the best. It's like, what, mate? What?
So, yeah, I read that one and was like, right, I don't know whether he's being silly. I don't know whether he's just talking anecdotally or whether there's some science I'm not aware of. So I gave it a Google. Ended up on quite a few wine websites where they talk about thickness of the glass. And it does seem that there's no scientific reason as to why the beer or wine would taste better with thinner glass. The explanation given as to why people prefer to do it is because somehow it feels less invasive. You feel more one with the wine as it enters your lips, and I do kind of understand that, like a really thick rim glass doesn't feel as pleasing as a very thin, fine one. I don't know. It feels a bit more invasive. I don't know. Maybe do you agree? Like finer glass feels nicer?
I do. I think certainly. I know. Like when, like if I don't drink a lot of champagne and stuff like that, but certainly, say you're at a wedding or something and you're drinking out of the very, very fine champagne flutes. Champagne is like bubbly as fuck anyway, and I find it a little bit abrasive to my pipes. When you drink it, it's like, wow, I feel like instantly buzzing. And I wonder whether that's due to...
You think that's the glass, not the fact that champagne's pretty strong?
I mean, champagne is pretty strong, but I feel like it probably has some... It's very immediate. Somehow it's more immediate when you have a sip of it. You're like, fucking hell, this is... blah.
I think that's the champagne, not the glass.
I don't know. But I think it's the fact you're at a wedding as someone you care about. You're with people that you love. There's probably speeches going on, and it's all fun and games and silly stuff happening. So it's experiential thing. It's another part of the experience.
Yeah. So, that's what it is, isn't it? It's another little marginal gain. This thin glassware. Yeah. So I did sort of find myself agreeing. The only issue is that thin glassware obviously means you're going to warm up that beer quicker. So what you would want is a stem, which obviously in wine is very common. In beer, it's a little bit less common. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I wouldn't say it's the most important thing. And I would say that you don't really want something that can cut you in your mouth.
No.
Unless it's the salt on pretzels in Germany. But otherwise, good comment, strong comment. It's both insightful and bonkers. And those are the best kind of YouTube comments, I think.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like the thinnest glassware that you get served beer in. Is it probably... What, like one of those crazy tall, like wit beer kind of glassware, like the real tall guys, or what's the thinnest glassware in beer?
I mean,
really think.
Craft Masters are pretty thin, so like the classic IPA ones. The Rastal beer tasting set that they made were really thin. That's about it, really. Yeah, I mean, the beer glasses are rarely thin because that makes them very easy to break, and in pubs, people are cheersing, people are dropping them. They're going in and out of dishwashers. They're going up and down in temperature all the time. Like, they have to be pretty robust, generally. So in pubs, you won't really get that. But it's nice to have a thinner glass at home.
Craft Master's thin, right? But then it's got that big, heavy bit at the bottom. So it's kind of... It's got best of both worlds, where it's like thin and it can do that kind of swilling, aerating thing in the special shape. Yep. But it also has some heft in the bottom, which means you're not gonna tip it over, and you're probably not gonna like chunk it down, and it just like splinters into a million pieces.
Yeah, it is a decent design. Like, people mock it. I mocked it in the video, but it is a decent design particularly for hoppy beers. The one thing that's just come to my mind is Teku glasses, which are very thin, and maybe that. I mean, they were quite strongly modelled on wine glasses, but then over-engineered in my opinion. But they're very thin and have a stem, so. And they are good to drink like big boozy beers from, I think. But I'd never drink anything other than something absolutely massive out of those glasses. It just doesn't feel right to be drinking anything else. Like, I think it was in Brewdog bars back in the day. They used to serve like all like 2/3 in it, or 1/3 in it, and some of them were just like IPAs at 7%. It was just silly.
The sort of like open lip on those I always found a bit over the top. Somehow,
yeah, not particularly
prone to being smashed potentially.
Well, God, yeah. I mean, they're so easy to smash, the techies. That's a major reason why I think they never really took off, and why only somebody that spunks a load of money on pointless things like Brewdog would actually use them in any meaningful regard. Comments from my side. So Nolan McIntyre said, "Big fan of Beer School. It's still my number one beer read." That's just the plugging bit. But then he goes on and says, "It's a great point about taste first. I've caught myself in the past picking up a beer that was new to me and immediately researching and checking reviews. Humans are so persuadable that I found this bad habit was influencing my experience. Even if you disagree with the review, you may go searching for flavours and miss out on your own experience." Which I think is a super important point. Like, we've criticised Untappd for many reasons, and indeed lauded Untappd for many reasons, but one of the biggest issues is that you go in with a preconceived idea of A, what this beer is going to taste like, and B, how good it's going to be. So, it might be hard to avoid buying beer based off of Untappd reviews, but, drinking it before you try the tasting notes is always going to be a good idea, because then you can form your own opinions, and then also test your palate against what the brewers think is in there, which is always interesting too.
100%. I've got another good one here, Johnny, a doozy. It's from Justin A. I have a friend's wife who's described a West Coast IPA by saying it smelled like a Christmas tree and tasted like a pine forest. It's a laughing face. So I quite enjoyed that description.
I'm sure we've said exactly the same. She's bang on.
She is bang on. Should we all be drinking West Coast IPAs for Christmas beers now, because they smell of Christmas?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think still every year, Two Earl, which is not a brewery I've thought about for a long, long time, they always release it's a West Coast IPA with pine needles. For Christmas.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it is quite a Christmassy beer. So well, I was going to say certainly more than New England, but if New England's kind of clementine-y, then that could be Christmassy as well.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun comment.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And we had another one from Ian Tasker. Beer School was the first book that I bought about 3 years ago. I'm guessing he means beer book, not just book in general. Fast forward, and I've just bottled my first blueberry, chocolate, vanilla, and toasted marshmallow imperial pastry stout.
Good lord!
Pushing 40 all grain brews. That's amazing. Love your content, guys. He's 40 brews in, Johnny. After
40 brews in, and he's going big.
Book.
I hope he's followed our mash advice. Well, actually, I hope he hasn't followed our mash advice from the Omnipoyo video. But that sounds like an utterly ridiculous beer, and I'd love to taste it.
Oh, me too. Blueberry, chocolate, vanilla, toasted marshmallow. Boom.
That's very Omnipoyo, isn't it? Yeah. I could have read that on the back of a. Oh my God, what's his name? The designer, Carl.
Carl, yeah, Carl Groudon, yeah, of course he is,
on the back of one of his bottles. I've got one more comment, which is from Mark Howson. Nice. Enjoyed that. We'll be trying them all out very soon. Just one daft question. What's the best way to chill a beer to the correct temperature? My fridge is set to 4, so how do I chill to 6 and 8? Which is a great question we should have addressed in our temperature video. The main reason we didn't is it's very complicated. So the transfer of heat is like you could do a thesis on that with the transfer of heat from glass and can. But basically, a super loose rule that I use is it warms a degree in 10 minutes, which is roughly true depending on all of the incredible amount of factors that there could possibly be. But B is really easy to remember, and it's never guided me desperately wrong. So if your fridge is set to 4, you want to drink it at 6, get it out 20 minutes before you drink it.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, to be super, super honest to people, is that when I want to drink something a little bit warmer, my fridge is set to 4 as well, and mostly I'll just let it warm in the glass as I drink it, to be honest. So I might cup it with my hands to try and warm it up if it's really cold. But generally, when you want a beer, mostly what I do is I go to the fridge and go, which of these beers do I want? I'm not doing it 20 minutes in advance. So I just enjoy it a little bit cold till it warms up to the right temperature and take my time over it. And part of the reason we've designed our graph that way is so that the big, boozier ones that you'll take more time over are also the ones that you can serve warmer so that it ends up. So it all kind of works out fairly neatly. You just might drink beer a little bit cold to start with.
I like it, Johnny.
So a little bit of realism there. That's what this podcast is about. It's behind the scenes. It's no holds barred. It's desperately unedited, which is how we like it. Right. Oh, yeah. I think that's everything we had for this week. Is that everything we had for this week?
Well, I'm off to San Francisco.
Of course you are.
This coming week, so there might not be. Well, there won't be a Friday 5 p.m. podcast from the both of us. You may do a solo podcast, right?
Yeah, I enjoy trying to talk for 20 minutes. I can do it. Yeah, so if there's anything you guys would want to hear me do as a solo one, let me know and I'll look into that. But otherwise, yeah, we might skip next week's and just to let Brad enjoy his holiday.
Well, I would say let me enjoy my holiday, but also any of you out there in Beerland, I'm going to San Francisco, so I'm in the Bay Area. Probably not going to go too far out of the Bay Area. But if there's any beery recommendations or just, great things to do that you'd recommend, hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Brad Evans, please, with your recommendations. Thank you very much.
There you go. That's beer or otherwise, right?
Yeah. Life, anything really.
Life tips for life in the Bay Area.
If you want to be mates, just hit me up because can never have too many friends, Johnny.
That's I guess that's probably true. I wouldn't know.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm delirious on Calpol. No, I wish I had some Calpol.
I was going to say, why are you having Calpol? Isn't that for kids?
No. I don't know. What's the adult equivalent? Cough medicine, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, Lemsip.
So, apparently, just
or
honey
paracetamol.
is just as good at stopping you from coughing as...
honey and lemon, yeah.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast called... What the fuck is it called? I can't remember what it's called. It's called, like, Best Thing Since Sliced Bread or something. It's BBC Radio 4 podcast, but they were talking about honey and its properties... Manuka honey and things like that, but they would basically said any honey, runny honey even, is great if you've got a cough. It's just as effective as most cough medicines in alleviating.
Because cough medicine is just glycerin, right? It's just lubrication, as far as I can tell.
Apart from the ones that have got like booze and like weird druggy stuff in. I can remember drinking. You used to be able to get high off drinking cough medicine. Do you remember that? Do you remember those days, Johnny? They've taken all those ingredients out now.
No, I don't remember that. I was probably high at the time.
A teenage house party and a friend drinking cough medicine at it and getting real mash up. Yeah.
That's a guy you want to avoid at the party. The guy sat in the corner drinking cough medicine. That's a serious red flag.
Wasn't it Lil Wayne's favourite drink was like cough medicine, I believe?
Did he die?
Do you know Lil Wayne? No, he's alive. He's got a real croaky voice as well, which I thought, of course, his favourite drink is cough medicine. His voice
it's his favourite drink. He's just got a perpetually sore throat.
Yeah, he's got a real croaky voice, Lil Wayne. So I think I'm pretty sure he loved cough medicine. I don't think I've made that up. Maybe in my strange Brad brain, I've just put the two things together and thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if Lil Wayne just drank cough medicine?
Yeah. That's one of those anecdotes I'm not going to Google because I just want it to be true, and I'm just gonna say that it is. Lil Wayne loves cough mixture. Bradley got high on it in his teens, and there is such a thing as shit beer. So we'll leave you with those. I nearly said bombshells. Shut up, internal Jeremy. We might see you. Well, I might see you next week. Brad won't, and then we'll be back the week after with our next Friday 5 p.m. Love and Beer. The Bubble and Friday 5 p.m. podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and Beer.